Okay, good morning everyone, and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday morning as we are studying together Perashat Ki Tavo. Ki Tavo deals in the beginning with the mitzvah of Bikurim, a beautiful mitzvah, where a farmer who has his first fruits, he brings them to the Beit HaMikdash in a basket, and he has to make this proclamation. He has to come to the Kohen, and the Pasuk tells us that after you give the basket of fruits to the Kohen, the first fruits, you acknowledge that Hashem is the one that gave it to you. And here is his statement that he's saying. Ve'anita ve'amarta, you have to then proclaim, Arami oved avi. The volume is very low. Okay, I'm not sure why. Is that with everybody? Okay, I'm not sure why. Maybe your computer's volume, I'm not sure. Okay. Arami oved avi. Vayered Mitzrayma vayagor sham b'mte'e me'at. Okay, you begin and you say that my father was Arami Oved. Now, I'm not sure if you guys know what that means, but that is actually the first words that you're saying are super unclear. Arami Oved Avi. My father, it's referring to Yaakov Avinu. Vayered Mitzrayma, he went down to Egypt. He lived there for, a while. He became a great people. The Mitzrayim tortured us. We cried out to Hashem. God took us out of Egypt. And with miracles, He brought us to the land of Israel. And now I'm bringing the fruits to say thank you, Hashem. So really, basically, this Jew is giving a summary of Jewish history. Yaakov Avinu was wandering down to Egypt. We were slaves. God took us out. And now we're here. And that's a summary of Jewish history, right? Beautiful. By the way, you should all know this pasuk because you say it every year on the Leila Seder. Actually, these psukim are the source of the Haggadah. The Haggadah itself that we spent a half hour or an hour or two reading on Pesach night, the Magid, it's all about reading these psukim and then explaining each line, each word. That's the whole Haggadah is this pasuk right here. Amazing. This is a perfect summary of our experience in Egypt, and we explain every line. Vayagor sham b'mte'e me'at vayisham legoy gadol atzum varav vayareu otanu hamitzrim. The Egyptians tortured us. Vayanunu vaytenu alenu avodah kasha. We explain every single line, and that's what the Haggadah is made up of. But what do the words Arami Oved Avi mean? Arami Oved Avi. Well, we read Rashi. Rashi says Arami is referring to Lavan. Lavan ha'Arami. Lavan bikesh la'akor et hakol. Arami tried to destroy our father, Yaakov Avinu. Where? Ksheradaf ahar Yaakov. Remember when Yaakov left in the middle of the night with his wives and kids? And then Lavan chased him down. He was ready to kill him. God came to him in the middle of the night and said, you better not touch him. And Lavan says, I was going to kill you, but Hashem told me not to. You're lucky. And now let's just make a peace treaty. And I don't go this way, you don't go that way. And we're good. But Bishvil Shehashav, because he wanted to kill Yaakov, Hashem considers it as if he did. Because when it comes to the nations of the world, even a bad thought is considered as if it was done. And therefore, that's what it means, Arami Oved Avi. Lavan, the Aramean, tried to destroy my father. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh baro. The Ibn Ezra doesn't like that approach. The Ibn Ezra says that Oved is not a verb. It's not an action. The way Rashi explains it, Arami, Lavan was Oved trying to destroy, but says the Ibn Ezra that's not Hebrew. That's not grammatically correct. It's not something that's active. It's not an action. If it meant that he was trying to destroy, it should have said Ma'avid or Me'abed. Arami Me'abed. He tried destroying, to do something. But it doesn't say that. It says Oved. It sounds like it was just passive. He was lost. And also, Ma ta'am lomar Lavan bikesh lehavid avi vayered Mitzrayma. If it's really talking about Lavan trying to destroy Yaakov, then how could it continue and say, and then he went down to Egypt? Did Lavan cause that Yaakov should go down to Egypt? Lavan lo sivev laredet el Mizraim. Lavan never caused Yaakov to go down to Egypt. Where did Yaakov go right after he left Lavan's house? Anyone know? Yaakov leaves Lavan's house. Where does he go? He goes to Israel. We go to Egypt decades later when the brothers fight with Yosef and everything. So the pasuk doesn't even flow, says the Ibn Ezra, according to you guys, Rashi. If it's true that it means Lavan tried destroying Yaakov, then Vayered Mitzrayim is not a cause of that. It's not a result. It's not the next piece of the puzzle. Therefore, the Ibn Ezra suggests Arami is not referring to Lavan. Actually, Arami is referring to Yaakov. And it's saying that my father, Avi, our forefather, Yaakov, was a lost Aramean. He was lost, he was wandering, he was poor. Oved could mean poor. Tenu shechar la oved. Someone without money. And Yaakov was very poor. And that eventually led that he should go down to Egypt because he had no food. There was no food in Israel, right? That's the Ibn Ezra. The Rashbam, similar to Ibn Ezra, agrees that it's not talking about Lavan, but he argues and he says it's not talking about Yaakov either. It's talking about Avraham. Avraham was the Arami Oved Avi. Avraham was a lost Aramean. And Avraham went down to Mitzrayim. That we know. Because he was wandering. Remember when God said to Avraham, Lech Lecha, leave your country. And where did he go? He went to Israel, but there was no food and he went down to Egypt. Beautiful. So these are interesting opinions. Now again, the Haggadah, when we read every Pesach, the Haggadah goes with Rashi. I mean, Rashi goes with the Haggadah, really. Right? And the Haggadah's opinion, our rabbi's opinion, is no, it's talking about Lavan. And Lavan tried destroying Yaakov Avinu. Arami Oved Avi. Lavan tried destroying our forefather. Beautiful. Question is, what does Vayered Mitzrayma? The Ibn Ezra has a great question here. How does the Ibn Ezra flow? How does the words Vayered Mitzrayma flow from that? Why would the pasuk be saying that Lavan tried to kill our forefather, and therefore our forefather went down to Egypt? That's not true. Our forefather Yaakov went back to Israel. How do we answer this question of the Ibn Ezra? So there are a few answers to explain what's the connection between Lavan and going down to Egypt. Because really they had nothing to do with each other, really. But basically, the idea is that the common theme is that Lavan, in what way did Lavan try destroying Yaakov? You know, the way Rashi says it is he tried chasing him. But there were other ways that Lavan tried destroying Yaakov, maybe more dangerous ways. You know, not always, as Jews, you know, it's not always, you know, someone hurting us, harming us physically. So many times we speak about how careful we have to also be to make sure that we're not being harmed spiritually, right? In our neshama. Lavan, he had a certain philosophy in life. Lavan's philosophy was relax, enjoy, comfort. Those words, those were Lavan's words. Those are not Jewish words. Judaism, we don't value comfort. The goal of life, according to Jews, is not to have it easy. It's not to be relaxed. The goal of life is to work hard. Right? Adam le'amal yulad. You were created not to relax. I'm sorry to tell you, okay? I don't know, maybe you want to never listen to my class again. But you weren't created to relax. Adam le'amal yulad. We were put in this world to work hard. The goal of this world that we're in is to work, to plant, to invest, to do. This is the world of asiyah. This is where we do. The next world is Shabbat. We relax, we eat, we enjoy, we drink. But just like in business, there are months that you work, and then there are times in business that you vacation. But this world that we're in is not vacation world. The goal of life isn't to vacation. The goal of life is to struggle, is to work hard. And Lavan's philosophy was, no, we're not here to work hard. We're here to relax and enjoy this world. And as Jews, that's not what we're here for. Mesilat Yesharim, opening paragraph, opening chapter. He says a person needs to know that they're here in this world, not for this world. We're here, my friends, to prepare for the next world. The next world is the goal. This world is a hallway. Imagine how foolish if a person spends their whole life investing and preparing for the hallway. They have a beautiful house here, and when they get there, they have a shed. They have nothing there. That's a big mistake. It's like a guy who goes on a business trip. Imagine, instead of spending all the money to buy good merchandise, he spends all the money on the hotel room. Now, he has nothing to buy at the show. He has no money with him. He spent it all on the hotel. He's foolish, because the hotel, you're here for only a week. You're going back home one day. You got to make sure you have money for your home, for your real house. The tzaddikim, they lived life understanding this world is not where I have my real house. This is temporary. I got to prepare for the real house, for the real world. That's olam haba. Lavan wanted to instill into Yaakov Avinu the fact that this world is what it's all about. It's all about here, man. Enjoy here. Live here. Live for here. Now, simply, on a simple level, did Lavan succeed? Lavan, and this was really the people of Aram, they were all about this. God said to Abraham, Lech lecha, leave. Over here, it's not conducive for growth. Over here, they only believe this is like a retirement spot. Over here, they're all relax mode. You can't grow over here in Aram, Abraham. You got to get out of here. They're all in relax mode. You got to go into work mode. So God tells Abraham, get out of here. And Abraham leaves Aram. Yaakov goes back to Aram to get married. But now he's in the influence. So does he succeed? So simply say Lavan didn't succeed. But the next parasha, when he leaves Lavan's house, Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz megure aviv. Yaakov settles in the place of his forefathers. Vayeshev, the word Vayeshev means to sit, to relax. Says Rashi, Bikesh Yaakov lashevet beshalva. Yaakov wanted to relax. Where did Yaakov learn that from? Who taught Yaakov this word, relax? Take it easy. Be comfortable. Calm down. Where did Yaakov get that? Lashevet. The answer is, he got it from Lavan. Lavan rubbed off on him. So Arami Oved Avi. Lavan tried destroying Yaakov, not by killing him, but by corrupting him. By giving him the false values of what this world's all about. And Yaakov spending some time, a little bit, Oy la rasha, oy l'shcheno. Woe to the wicked, woe to the neighbor. Yaakov leaves Lavan's house a little bit. It's nice to take it easy in life. You don't have to work so hard. You don't have to grow all the time. Yaakov just wanted to relax. And God's like, whoa, time out. That's not how a Jew talks. Because when man sits, Satan dances. Bikesh Yaakov, kafatz alav rogzo shel Yosef. The desire to settle came from Lavan. And Yaakov, in a scary way, even Yaakov was a little bit influenced from Lavan. So if we think, by the way, that we're not going to get influence from our surroundings, even Yaakov was. So what's the solution to all of this? The solution is Mizrahi. A slave has he has zero ownership. A slave is disconnected from this world as it gets. He has no comfort. A slave is the most uncomfortable. God was saying, I need you to reincorporate the slave mentality a little bit. That you're here to work. You're not here to have rights. The Torah doesn't ever talk about rights. The Torah speaks about commandments. The 10 commandments, not 10 Bill of Rights. Not about rights, not about what's in it for us. That's not this world. This world's not for us. The Torah is not here for us to enjoy. It's not here listing all of our benefits. The Torah is about giving us our responsibilities, our obligations, our commandments. That's what a Jew is. A Jew lives to serve. A Jew is a servant to God. Not God is our servant, chas v'shalom. And therefore, we go down to Egypt to relearn, to undo the corruption that Lavan gave into us. So therefore, let's go back. Arami oved avi. Arami tried to destroy my father. Lavan tried to corrupt Yaakov. And because it almost worked, Vayered Mitzrayma, we had to go down to Egypt. As we always say, Egypt was a kura barzel. It was a smelting furnace. We had to refine and remove the impurities that we gained in Lavan's house when we were there for 20 years. We had to go into the fire of slavery to melt away all the impurities of Lavan. And then we were ready to receive the Torah. So therefore, we come and we say this when we bring bikurim. You know, a farmer has his fruits. He sits down, grabs a little pina colada or a strawberry daiquiri or whatever's your, jam, and he sits back with his field of produce. And a little bit, now that you're comfortable and you have land and you have a house and you have real estate, you could start forgetting that you're here to work. You go golfing all day, go tennis all day, you go vacationing all day, you spend yacht, you spend time on a destination, you go to the moon maybe if you have the money, right? And that's not this world. And so this man who's bringing bikurim has to remind himself, Arami oved avi vayered Mitzrayma. I can't get too comfortable. I gotta make sure I'm always growing, always improving, I'm always doing. Whether it's with my money or with my time, with my body or with both, all three, I gotta learn, I gotta grow, I gotta do mitzvot, I gotta pray. I'm here to serve, not to be served. That's one beautiful idea of the cause and effect of Lavan trying to destroy Yaakov, and therefore Yaakov was Vayered Mitzrayma. But my friends, there is another idea over here that Rav Bogomilsky brings down in his book V'dibarta Bam from the Al-Shich HaKadosh. Listen to what the Al-Shich has to say. We know the history. Yaakov comes down to Lavan's house and he wants to get married. He sees Rachel by the well and he's very clear to Rachel. He makes a deal. I love you, you love me, let's build a family and let's get married. She says to him, listen, my father's a trickster. He says, don't worry, I'll trick him. She goes to Lavan and he writes up the contract and they're very clear. I want to marry your daughter, the younger one, Rachel. There's no way to get around this one. He didn't just say, I want to marry Rachel, because he knows Lavan, if you tell him that, I want to marry Rachel, what will Lavan do? He'll give you some random Rachel from the street. He says, I want to marry your daughter. Well, that's not enough either, because I have two. Maybe I'll give you the older one. Maybe give me your daughter, Rachel. Okay, I could change the name. Okay, I'll give me your daughter, Rachel, the youngest one. That's it. There's no way around that. It has to be his daughter. It has to be the young one. It's got to be Rahel. Sure enough, Lavan finds a way anyways to flip it on Yaakov. And by the way, Lavan doesn't just cheat Yaakov. Here's the amazing thing. Lavan, he cheats Yaakov and he blames Yaakov for being cheated. It's your fault! Can you imagine? And by the way, this is literally today. So what does Lavan say? Lavan says, excuse me, Yaakov? Did you really expect me to give Rachel before Leah? Yaakov, shame on you. I mean, I don't know where you come from. Maybe where you come from, the younger sibling cheats the older sibling out of what's right and what's his. Hint, hint. Maybe where you come from, you take things from your older brother. Maybe where you come from, you steal blessings from your dad for the older brother. But here, Yaakov, here we're honest. Here we have respect. R-E-S-P-E, right? Here we got respect, Yaakov. No way does the younger daughter cut the line for the older daughter. Yaakov, shame on you. I'm disappointed. How dare you even think of that? No, Leah's first. Can you imagine? This is the trickster. And he flips it on you. You're the bad guy. Well, Yaakov now is married to Leah. but he also has to marry Rachel. And he marries Rachel, and now he has a firstborn from Rachel, and he has a firstborn from Leah, and really, who's the real firstborn? It should be Yosef. But the brothers are jealous because he's not the oldest. Even though he comes from Rachel, but really, we come from the main mother, Leah, and there was this whole tug of war and, struggle power. Who's the real oldest? Who's the real wife, Rachel or Leah? And because of all of this, it's really what led to the sale of Yosef, the jealousy that was created because of two mothers. If there's only one mother, if it's only Rachel in the picture, if Yaakov marries Rachel and has 12 children through her, there's no machloket. Everyone knows who's the oldest. It's very clear. It's a layup. It's in and out. It's simple. There's nothing to talk about. But because Lavan comes and switches everything, and he gives him Leah, and then he gives him Rachel, and now is this whole tug of war, struggle, conflict for power, and now your brothers sell Yosef. Now the Jews go down to Egypt because Joseph's there. So now, you ready for this? Very, very, very strong and rich al-shich over here. If Lavan doesn't fool Yaakov, then he wouldn't marry Leah. Rachel is the mother of all of the children, and Yosef the firstborn. His younger siblings would never sell him, and there's never jealousy. But because Lavan, you did what you did, now there is jealousy. Now they do sell him. Now they do go down to Egypt. And you know what, Lavan? It's all your fault. You didn't intend that we go down to Egypt. You didn't intend that there should be fighting with Yosef and the brothers. But you are a cause. And this is, my friend, something that I want to spend a few minutes today talking about. We all live in a world, and the world that we live in calculates the action that you did. You're a car mechanic. It's something that Hafetz Chaim writes in his book Ahavat Chesed. He says if you're a car mechanic and someone comes in and you fix their car, you get paid $40 for fixing the car, whatever it costs to fix a tire, right? Someone comes and they need money, and you give the guy $5 and he goes, you get paid for what you do in this world. The waiter, he has customers coming to his restaurant, he gets paid for giving food. But now the guy that you fixed his tire, now he goes to a meeting and he makes millions of dollars in that meeting. Does what's his name? Does the repairman, does he get a cut from the $1 million deal? I fixed your car. No. You fixed the car. I pay you for the car. Right? We don't care all the things that now are a result of the action that you did. But says the Hafetz Chaim, when Hashem rewards, Hashem doesn't only reward what you did, but Hashem also calculates everything that's going to come out of that action that you did. It's what we call the ripple effect. You did something, you according to Judaism, you gave a guy $5, you gave a guy a lift, you did something, we have to now calculate everything that's going to come out of that action of yours. You take a guy, he asks you for a lift. You're thinking, shouldn't I don't know, I'm tired, maybe yes, maybe no. You decide, you know what, let me take the guy. You take this guy 5 blocks out of your way. You drop him off. He says thank you. In Shamayim, you think they're going to reward you for driving a Jew 5 blocks. But what you don't know is that Jew, he was going to collect money for his hungry family and medication, and he goes to the office and he collects now $50,000 from a few different people. Now the guy goes home. Now his kids get medication that they need. He's able to marry off his daughter and support her for a few years if she's in learning or whatever her lifestyle is. He's able to have Shalom Bayit with his wife because he could take her now on a tiny few day getaway that's long overdue. And now you get to Shamayim, they say, you know what? We have to pay you for all of the Shalom Bayit that you caused. You're like, what Shalom Bayit? I wasn't a marriage counselor. No, you weren't a marriage counselor. But remember that time that you gave a guy a lift? You have no idea what you did for him that day. You uplifted him, and that lift that you gave him, you put his kids in yeshiva, you were able to help because of the people that you drove him to. That's all coming to your account. It's all the ripple effect. And that's for bad and that's for good. If something good happens, we get credited, and God forbid, if something bad happens, we have to pay for that. Lavan, he in an interesting way led to us going down to Egypt, because what he did with the two wives. Now there's mahloket, and now Yosef gets down to Egypt, and then we go down. It's all Lavan's fault. Remember when Moshe Rabbeinu saved the shepherds of Yitro? If you ever saw the Ten Commandments, right? You know the scene. I don't know if that's how it went down. I could imagine probably not, right? But whatever it is, he saves the day, and the daughters go home early. And the father's like, whoa, what happened that you're home early today? And what do the girls say? Ish Mitzri hitzilanu. An Egyptian man saved us. Now, who were they referring to when they said Egyptian man? Simply Moshe. But it's an interesting thing to call Moshe Egyptian. He's not Egyptian, he's a Hebrew. When Yosef was speaking to Paro after interpreting the dream, what does he call himself? Ivri. I'm a Hebrew. Moshe, he identifies as Egyptian. Right? Identity crisis. Why is he identifying as an Egyptian? What are the daughters saying? Mitzri hitzilanu. Listen to what our rabbis say, my friends. Something very deep. They weren't talking about Moshe. Moshe is not a Mitzri. Moshe is a Hebrew. You know who they're talking about? What's Moshe doing in Midian anyways? What's he doing there? Saving the daughters of Yitro from the shepherds. He belongs in Egypt with the Jews. What's he doing here? The answer is he's a fugitive. He's a fugitive because he once upon a time saw an Egyptian striking a Jew, and he killed that Egyptian, and then the word got out and he had to run away. So Moshe, he's in Midian because of an Egyptian that he once killed. So you know what the daughters realize? It's true, Moshe saved us. But really, why is Moshe here? Moshe is here because of an Egyptian. So in a crazy backwards way, the Egyptian also is responsible for saving us. He didn't intend to save us. He was actually intending to kill a Jew, but it led to something good. And the Midrash teaches us, look how far Hashem thinks when rewarding somebody. Saving the shepherd, the daughters of Yitro from the shepherd. The Egyptian needs a thank you. He didn't intend. He wasn't thinking. It wasn't part of his game plan. But that's Hashem's game plan. When Hashem calculates, he calculates everything that's going to be born. And therefore, we have to realize, my friends, no act that we ever do is a small, isolated act. Everything that you do, you may think that you're just, remember when I was going out, I said to my wife, I said, imagine like you're a doctor, you save people's lives. Imagine you're a lawyer, you could help people figure out. If you're an accountant, you could figure out how to help people finance. But imagine you're just like a bus driver. Like your whole life, you look back, and what did you do? What could you look back at positively and be proud of? You drove 4 wheels that way and this way, that way and this way and this way. Your whole life, you sat in a chair, driving. And I remember saying to my wife, isn't that like a sad life to live? And my wife, that you guys already know by now, is much smarter than myself. She looked at me with disgust. She's like, what are you talking about? How could you say that? You know how important of a position a bus driver could be? Like, a bus driver is the first person that some people see every morning. People get to and from work with a bus. That bus driver, if he smiles at you, hey, how you doing? Have a good day. Now you feel great. You know who he just picked up? He just picked up a teacher. Now she goes to school. She's teaching kids. She's happy because the bus driver smiled. Now a kid in the class, he asks a question that's a dumb question, but the teacher has patience because she's in a good mood and she makes the kid feel great about his question. And now the kid has confidence. He grows up. He becomes something amazing in life because his teacher smiled at his dumb question because the bus driver smiled at the teacher. But imagine the bus driver, sour. Come on, get on the bus. Right? Now, you give them a bad day. Now, teacher's all going into class upset. And now she's answering and she's all snappy at the kids. And the kid grows up without confidence. And that's also the bus driver's fault. So I'm just giving you an example of how the bus driver, simple job, but you're not a simple job. Nothing that you ever do in your life pertains to only you. Everything that we will do in our lives, there's a huge cause and effect. It's much bigger than us. The famous example of the guy who was in his boat and he wanted to commit suicide, so he starts drilling a hole in the floor of his room so that he could drown to death. And everyone comes in, they hear noise, like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm drowning myself. They're like, what do you mean you're drowning yourself? You can't drown yourself. He's like, what do you care? It's my room, I can do what I want. Like, you fool. We're all in the same boat. What you do affects us. So you, no matter how alone you may be, you have to realize you're not alone. And you have a circle of influence. And everything that you do, it's going to affect someone. It's going to rub off on someone. Maybe it's your doorman. Maybe it's a neighbor. Maybe it's a guy in the street. And you simply smile. And then you inspire that person. And who knows what that could lead to. You know, I saw one time an amazing line. Anyone can count the seeds in one apple. But only Hashem can count the apples in one seed. In life, we'll never know how far-reaching our actions are. But our job is not to know. Our job is to plant the seeds. Plant the seeds. Do good. Someone needs something. Don't think too much about it. Do it. You don't know how one day what this can be doing. You know, someone was telling me that Putin, who is known to be extra kind to the Jewish people, is because when he was a kid, he had a neighbor in his building who was Jewish, and his parents were both working. And every day, this neighbor would just give him a leftover dinner. Just leftover dinner. And this kid grew up. Putin, now he's kind to all the Jews in the world. One of the most influential, people in the world. They didn't know that when he was a little kid. But no one's born with a sign Putin. You know what I mean? We got to plant seeds to everyone, to anyone. We have to realize, Ish Mitzri Hitzilanu. One day, this could lead all the way to that. And then who's born? And then Moshe gets married. And then. But it's all something that we'll never know. So today, as we do chesed, think about the ripple effects on the life of the person that you are helping. Now, you're helping someone. You're not just helping them. You know, you give someone a job. You know, you keep a company. You know, a person asks you for a loan. A man, listen to this example that he brings. A man is on the verge of bankruptcy. His friend is in a position to help the man reestablish his business on a firm footing. The friend debates with himself. Should I provide a loan? Take a chance? Not take a chance? Finally, he says, you know what? I'm going to help him. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to give him a loan. Now the business survives. 150 workers, the business employees, remain employed. They're saved from the grim prospect of coming home to announce that they've lost their jobs. Now imagine the marital stress, the shalom bayit. Now he has to go look. Now he's going to be fighting and, all the issues in the house. Now the guy who's trying to buy a home, he can finally close, move his family to a more, religious area, give his kids a good Torah education. The other guy's able to give his mother, a care and a home. The restaurant across the street, they keep their business. I mean, how many people you're affecting from a small loan? And how many people, God forbid, the other way? Now, you don't give the loan, the guy loses his job, shalom bayit issues, the kids grow up in a dysfunctional home, and then the guy who's trying to buy can't close on the house, and he has to stay in this neighborhood. That's not the best for his children. And then the people across the street, and the mother, and the stress, and all the things. So we have to realize, right? It's a wonderful life. Anyone saw that one? It's a wonderful life. So you, maybe one person, but you're affecting so many people around you. And we don't know always. We don't always see the ripple effect. There's an amazing story. Rabbi Beryl Wine says that he was once speaking to it was, I don't know if the CEO or the executive journal, so someone from the Detroit Times. This is the most famous newspaper in Detroit, and the editor-in-chief, that's who it was. He was speaking to the editor-in-chief, which is the top position, and the editor-in-chief says, I want to tell you a story, Rabbi. He says, many years ago, this 14-year-old girl, Mary, she came off the boat from Ireland, and she needed a job. So she applies for a job, and the president of the synagogue, local synagogue, he needed a housekeeper, so he hires this lady, this girl, Mary. She comes, and she's working, and she's fine. And she's working for him and his family. Finally, it was December time, and this president was going away with his family for a few days. So he says, here, Mary, here's $100 and $200, whatever it was, and take care of the house, buy whatever is needed. We'll be back in a week. Well, she looks at the calendar, and what's coming up? December 25th. And she says, well, they're not prepared. He gave me $200. I got to prepare the house for them. So she has no idea what's Jewish. She grew up in Ireland. She goes out and she starts buying, a Hanukkah bush. She starts buying decorations and, the socks, I don't know, whatever they buy, tree, everything. And she starts decorating the whole house. Lights and the Santa and everything. Well, the family comes back from vacation and they drive down the block. And they drive right past their house. They can't find their house. Where's our house? The guy comes around. They passed by the house 3 times till finally they're going house by house, and they finally realize this is our house. It don't look like our house. It's decorated with Christmas decorations. The guy can't believe it. He goes in the house and he sees Mary standing there with such a smile on her face. So, do you like it? Look what I did. The guy can't believe it. He goes upstairs. Finally, he calls her up. He says, listen. He hands her an envelope with a bonus. He says, this is for you. Never in my life did I see anyone do such an amazing job. Thank you so much for your hard work. And he hands her the bonus. And then he explained to her that, we're Jews, we don't do these decorations, we have another holiday, etc., etc. But this editor-in-chief, he turns to Rabbi Ariel, he says, Rabbi, Mary was my mother. And because of how that president, that Jew, respected her, never a soul that I have anything to say about it will this newspaper publish anything anti-Semitic. Unbelievable. This, my friends, is what it means to realize that everything we do is affecting so much more than this here, today, right now. This is much bigger. And then we have to think big. I know we think, we're an average person. We have our simple life, and we're affecting our small little corner. But there's no such thing. We're not small. We're not simple. It's not a small little life. Everything that we do is creating, and it could impact hundreds of thousands of lives. It's crazy. I know we don't think like that. We think sometimes small. Rabbi, I'm not an influential speaker speaking to thousands. That's not who I am. I'm a regular fellow. I got my small little corner. You don't know. Only Hashem can count the apples in one seed. So this is, I think, also a very powerful lesson from the Al-Shich, that it's for good and for bad. For bad, Lavan, he's to blame for our journey in Egypt. Now, is he really to blame? He didn't really cause us to go down to Egypt. All Lavan did was switch the sisters. He married the old, but that caused 2 mothers, caused fighting with Yosef and his brothers, and then Yosef has to be sold. Lavan could easily say, well, it's not my fault, let them get their act together, let them figure out, I don't know, sinat chinam, it's not my issue. You're right, but you're there somewhere. And now you're responsible. And it's true, really, for us, for the good. Realizing how much good we can accomplish, even with a small act that involves one small person. If I give off good energy, now my son, he's happy. Now he goes to school. Now my daughter, now my wife, my husband, they go to work. And it's a ripple effect. And we won't always see it in our lifetime. But it's there. And we're planting seeds always. And realize that these seeds is not one seed. There could be trees and orchards that come from the seeds that we plant. Bezrat Hashem. Okay, we'll stop over here, everyone. Have an amazingly wonderful day. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.